Namaste and a very, very good morning to all of you. I welcome you to my channel, The Outlier. In today's video, we will be looking at how to construct a heat map. Question is, what is a heat map? Heat map is a data visualization technique. Now, what a heat map does is it looks at the correlation values and it converts it into colors in 2 dimensions. Now, what is the benefit of using a heat map? The interpretation of numbers become very, very simple. As you are aware, human mind is not very efficient when it comes to processing the large sums of data. So if you have a giant correlation table, let's say in a real-time scenario, you can have a correlation table of the magnitude of 40 cross 40, which means that you have 40 variables in the rows and you have 40 variables in the column. And if you have to sort of look at each value and find out which has a strong relationship, which has a weak relationship, which has a moderate relationship, it becomes a bit difficult. So this is where a heat map comes to our rescue. It color codes, it assigns a color based on the magnitude of the correlation and thus simplifies the interpretation of the correlation values. So without wasting too much time, let us just quickly construct a heat map. As you can see here, I am working on the IRIS dataset. IRIS dataset is present in the Seaborn library. Now, to construct a correlation table, what I'll do is I'll call this particular data frame IRIS, run a core of function, iris.coreof. The core of function will give me a correlation table corresponding to the scale variables. Let me execute this. You can see here, you are able to get 16 values in this particular correlation table. It becomes slightly difficult to interpret each and every number, right? Manually, if you have to look at what is the correlation between sepal length and sepal width, then move on to petal length and sepal length, then move on to sepal length and petal width. Manually interpreting each and every cell becomes a hard task. Question is there a way of simplifying this? Fortunately, we have heat map which comes to our rescue. Now, what I'll do here is I'll just save this as an object, right? I'll give it a name correlation. I'll give this the name correlation. I'll also try to display it because I need it at a later stage. So I've created an object which is called as correlation. Now this object contains the correlation matrix that is present in the IRIS dataset. Now let's quickly move on to the heat map. The library name is Seaborn. The alias name for Seaborn is SNS. You can just call the heat map function, right? We have to specify 3 different arguments in the heat map. The first of the argument is the object which contains the correlation values. So this is the first argument. As you can see here in line number 75, I have created an object correlation which contains all the correlation values. I need to supply this inside. I need to pass this inside the heat map function. The second argument is CMap. This is the option. CMap stands for color mapping. Now within double quotes, I will say red, yellow, and green, right? So I want red color to be assigned wherever there's a strong negative correlation. I want to see yellow color wherever there is moderate relationship between the variables. And I want to see a green color wherever there's a strong positive relationship between the 2 variables. The last option here would be annotation. You can just say ANNOT equals. So very, very simple function. Anybody can do this. SNS.heatmap is the function. We are just passing 3 arguments here. One is the correlation, right? Correlation is the object which contains the correlation values. Second one is the CMap, which is nothing but the color, colors that I want to see in the heat map. And finally, annotation is equal to true. Let me quickly execute this. Once you execute this, you will be able to see a beautiful heat map here. Even before I look at each and every value here, please look at the color scaling here. Right, 1.0, wherever the correlation value is 1.0, in fact, above 0.8, you will be able to see dark green cells. As the correlation value reduces, to below 0.6, right, the hue, the shade of green sort of fades. And on the other end of the spectrum, you can see red color cells. Now, when you look at these red color cells correspond to negative correlation. So this is how you can interpret the correlation. Wherever you see high positive relationship, it will be color coding using green color. Wherever you see yellow colored cells, it means moderate relationship. And wherever you see red color cells, it means that those two variables share a negative relationship. Now I can see 0.96. This is an eye-catching number. Now this is a strong positive relationship. It's almost equal to 1. This is between the variable petal length and petal width. Right, you have petal width and petal length. That has a strong relationship to the extent of 0.96. Same goes with the petal width and sepal length. There's a strong positive relationship to the extent of 0.82, right? Now, same with the petal length and sepal length. So all these cells which are coded as in dark green indicate strong positive relationship, and wherever you see dark red cells, it indicates negative relationship. I can see a negative relationship between petal length and sepal width. I can also see a negative relationship between petal width and sepal width, right? So this is how you can interpret a heat map. Now, if you want to see another flavor of heat map with a different color coding, what you can do is you can just copy this and paste it here, right? Let's say I don't want to see red, yellow, and green. So let me just change it to blues, right? So this is a different flavor of the same code. You can see here you get another beautiful representation of the correlation matrix. Look at how appealing this particular map is. Compare this to the correlation matrix that we had originally. This looks very, very dull and bland, right? If I scroll down, right, you can see you can look at the color scale here. Deep blue color corresponds to a correlation value of 1.0, and as the correlation value goes down to -1, the shade of blue sort of fades, right? The interpretation remains the same. So a heat map is a very, very powerful tool in the hands of a data scientist. This is a great weapon to do EDA. Now, a correlation matrix tells us many times a correlation matrix happens to be the first step even before you go and model your data set. Why does this become the first step? Let's say you're doing a linear regression tomorrow. You will look at the correlation matrix to find out whether there is any relationship between the independent variables. If there is a high degree of relationship between the independent variables, it leads to a problem called as multicollinearity, which we do not want. So it can be easily shown whether there is multicollinearity in the data set or not. All those things can be easily identified in the EDA stage itself. That is, in the exploratory data analysis stage itself, we can identify whether there is a problem of multicollinearity, whether there is high correlation with the dependent variable, or whether there is negligible correlation with the dependent variable, which all variables have a strong correlation with fellow independent variables. All these things can be understood through a simple heat map, right? And the beauty behind this is that very, very complex information can be summarized using simple visualization technique. I genuinely hope that you liked today's presentation. I thank you very, very much for watching today's video. I'll see you in my next video.